Miyata versus Mashiba is hands down my favorite fight I've seen from Hajime no Ippo so far. This fight is legendary, and just like every fight, this one starts at the weigh-in. We see Fuji, Miyata, and his dad. Out of nowhere, Mashiba and his trainer walk in. As Mashiba looks over to Miyata, Miyata just keeps his eyes closed, not even acknowledging him. Everybody in the room can just feel the tension in the air. As they do their weigh-ins, Miyata and Mashiba are both within the weight limit at 125 and 125.5 respectively. When the weigh-in's done, Miyata tells his pops that he's about to head home, but pops is like, without introducing yourself first, where your manners? I ain't raised you like that. And Miyata's like, oh shit, I forgot. But before he even gets a chance to say anything to Mashiba, dude starts laughing at him. He's like, oh, what a heartwarming father-son scene. You gonna run to your daddy for comfort after you lose? Not that it'll mean much from a second-rate boxer who gave up before he even had a chance to become champion. Everybody's looking around crazy. They ain't expect no shots to be fired like this, but Miyata walks up on him real smooth like, not flustered at all. He's like, don't get hasty now. We gonna settle this in the ring tomorrow. And just walks right past him. Throughout this whole time, he barely even looked in his direction. And boom, just like that, we skip forward right to the next day, where Fuji, and Ippo are all walking to the stadium to watch the fight. First place we see, Miyata's warm-up room. His dad's putting his hand on his shoulder, feeling that he's cold. He hasn't even done his normal warm-up routine yet, and Pops calls him out for it. He's asking him if he's feeling the pressure of fighting Mashiba since he's a tougher opponent than usual. Miyata's like, kinda, but really, I'm thinking about him. Of course, talking about Ippo. He said that Ippo came through on his promise so perfectly that he forced him into, and now he has to live up to his own end of the bargain. Miyata knows that Ippo's been using him as motivation, so it's weird to see it's the other way around now. Over in Mashiba's room, he's just chilling up against the wall. The other people from the other fights of the day are talking shit about him, but obviously real quietly. They're like, why is he just standing there? Even though he got a fight coming up, what is he doing? But as soon as Mashiba looks in their direction, they shut their ass right up. Mashiba's trainer walks up and asks what the problem is. It's not normal for him to be nervous before a fight. Mashiba claims it ain't nerves, he was just lost in thought. As he real creepily says, I wonder what cooking method will preserve his natural flavor. And just laughs after saying that, while his trainer's looking at him crazy. I look at him crazy too, cause who says some shit like that? After seeing both fighters pre-games, we get straight to the ring, where the announcers are doing their introductions. As they introduce both fighters, the arena's oddly silent. Ippo's in the crowd like, it's finally time. I can't believe the fight's really here. But Aunt tells him to pipe down, since everybody's anxiously waiting for the fight to start, bracing themselves for that first moment so they don't miss anything. Aunt asks Ippo what his prediction is, and he's like, naturally, I think Miyata's gonna win. Aunt agrees, but he also says it's not gonna be that easy. Mashiba's got a height advantage on him, so it'll be difficult for Miyata to deal with his long reach and flicker jabs. Mashiba's got a 5cm height advantage and a 10cm reach advantage. That's not nothing to scoff at. But Miyata's got speed and technique on his side, but there's no guarantee that it's going to be enough to overcome the reach difference. We can see the tension in everyone's faces. Ippo, Fuji, the trainers, and of course, our two fighters, when finally, the fight begins. So the bell rings and the fight starts off with both sides testing the waters, circling around each other. As the distance between them slowly gets closer and closer, they both quickly rush in, but the first impact goes to Miyata. Ippo's on the sideline, already impressed at both of their speed. Miyata was able to land the first punch, which grazed Mashiba's cheek but didn't do any damage. They stay each other down for a second or two, then go right back at it. We see a missed left from Mashiba and a blocked right from Miyata, but he follows up with a left, then a right, and both of them connected. Mashiba swings back on him, but Miyata's too quick and easily dodges out the way. The crowd's impressed with Miyata's play, and Aunt breaks it down that Miyata clearly has the one-up in speed. And with the way he's playing, it's gonna have to be something crazy for Mashiba to catch him. He called out that he's gotten even faster and slicker than before. Ippo's impressed with his footwork, but is more impressed with how calm he is against Mashiba's fast swings. Turns out, that's one of his biggest strengths, his IQ. He's extremely smart when it comes to moving around punches and finding his way in to land a counter punch. But all of a sudden, Mashiba drops his left arm, initiating his hitman style. Miyata just looks at him while smiling, saying that now things are starting to get interesting. Mashiba starts doing a swinging motion with his hand, which Fuji explains is used to confuse the opponent, then sends the first flicker jab. We see Miyata dodge out of its range, but turns out it wasn't enough, as Mashiba ends up landing a clean hit and the crowd goes crazy. Miyata's like, damn, so it extends even further than I expected. Mashiba continues with a barrage of more and more jabs, but nothing's connecting as Miyata's dodging around him. As we zoom out, we get to see just how far Mashiba's throwing these punches from. Both Fuji and call out that the distance and speed of these punches are throwing Miyata off. Mashiba's like, come on and play. You can't box from that far away. But Miyata just thinks to himself, you shouldn't have sent that barrage so early. Now I know your range and all of your angles. All of a sudden, Miyata drops his right arm, assuming his own hitman style. Mashiba's immediately offended that he would even try some shit like this and throws a quick punch, but Miyata blocks it with his shoulder, getting up close within his range and responding with a clean left counter punch, sending Mashiba back and ultimately knocking him down. Everybody's impressed. He smoothly made his way in as he's known to do, but did it using his opponent's own style. Miyata walks back to his corner and we see from Mashiba's point of view, Miyata's just staring him down. The ref's just counting up at this point and Unk's like, is it really over that quickly? Even Fuji's surprised. He breaks down that Miyata used the hitman style solely for that shoulder block and perfectly calculated when to throw the counter punch. He also took advantage of Mashiba's long wingspan and used it against him. When Mashiba throws a punch, since his arm is so long, it takes longer for him to get back into a stance where he could defend, which ultimately leaves the middle of his body wide open. And even though it may sound simple, just ducking a punch and going in, he points out that it's not something that could just be easily done on a whim like Miyata just did now. He's got incredible eyesight and even better reflexes to be able to pull that off in the heat of a match. As the ref continues to count up, Mashiba's on the floor, mad as hell that he got downed. He's like, this ain't no time to kneel, I gotta get back up. And as he starts making his efforts, Miyata's a little shocked and gets right back in the stance. As Mashiba brings his body back up, leaning against the ropes, he confirms with the ref that he can continue. So as the round goes on, Miyata flies right past the ref. He caught Mashiba completely off guard, but then the bell rings, right before he gets the chance to deliver that finishing blow. As he walks back to his corner, Unk and Ippo realize that was probably the worst time for the bell to ring, as a viewer and for Miyata. But regardless, they've all got to go on with it. With a round as exhilarating as that one, them little 3 minutes ended up going by in the blink of an eye. And just like that, they're back, ready to go into the second one. For the second round, Miyata's gonna knock Mashiba down, and Mashiba's gotta play around that, avoiding another knockdown at all costs. As soon as the bell rings for the second round, instead of playing it safe, Mashiba rushes down Miyata. He catches him off guard, but his punch is blocked. Miyata's dad tells him to get out of there so he doesn't get cornered, but instead, Miyata stands his ground. He insists that damaged goods, talking about Mashiba, won't take him down in a fist fight, so he can't run. At first, I thought it was straight ego, but then we hear him thinking that he can't run because he thinks Ippo's gonna laugh at him. He's also worried about being a worthy opponent that Ippo could fight in the next round. As they start trading punches, Mashiba starts taking the edge. Fuji calls out that he's the stronger of the two, so in a brawl like this, it's only natural that he had the advantage. But Miyata's able to bounce back and throw some solid body blows into a few more block punches, finally ending with a left to the face. After seeing how he just out-hit Mashiba, Unk calls out how much work Miyata must have been putting in order to keep up as well as he has been. His infighting is on a whole nother level. As the round continues, we see that Mashiba's trying his best to compete, but he's just being outclassed by Miyata. After a while of taking punches, Mashiba bounced back with a punch towards Miyata, but he blocks it. Miyata realizes that Mashiba still got a little bit of power left, but unfortunately for him, it's time to finish the fight. He rushes Mashiba down and starts sending punches left and right as Mashiba's guard slowly gets looser and looser. Miyata lands a left to Mashiba's face as he thinks about Ippo waiting in the finals for him, then follows with a right to the face as he thinks about him having to get to the finals no matter what. Finally, ending it with a right to Mashiba's face, sending him back, knocking his mouth guard out as everybody realizes Miyata just clinched the win. But just before he was about to fall to the ground, Mashiba shifts his foot in time to keep himself up, staring dead into Miyata's eyes, talking about Miyata's quote-unquote weak-ass punches had zero effect. I'm not gonna lie, I thought this was cold as hell for a second. I don't even like Mashiba like that, but that shit was cool. I thought he was about to start making a comeback, but he starts throwing these predictable ass roundhouses that I don't think anybody would have got hit by, let alone Miyata of all people. He's dodging these punches with ease as Mashiba's just losing it, saying that he's gotta win by any means, no way he could lose now. Miyata steps in perfectly to land his signature counter punch and pretty much all is sealed. But as he slides his foot in, Mashiba, on purpose, steps on it, throwing Miyata off. And before he realized it, Mashiba had used that time of the distraction to land a clean right to Miyata's face, launching him backwards. Of course, he follows up with more and more punches as Miyata's only being held up by the rope. After some time, the ref intervenes, telling Mashiba to stop since Miyata's practically down at this point, but Mashiba doesn't want to stop swinging. He's still trying his best to go at him as Miyata drops to the floor. As the ref counts up, everyone's in disbelief. This man Mashiba is looking down on Miyata as if he just wasn't at death's door throwing roundhouses trying to get an advantage. But nonetheless, the ref continues counting up. Fuji and Unk call out the dirty trick that Mashiba did, and Ippo's just at a complete loss for words. Mashiba stepping on Miyata's foot was the only reason that he was able to get the reversal that he did. Miyata's dad is there pounding on the ground, screaming his name, while Miyata's on the floor thinking, damn you, Mashiba, now you done really fucked up. Mashiba sees Miyata making the attempt to get up and is like, bruh, don't be dumb, just sit down and take the L. Whole time, Unk is in the crowd saying it's over for Miyata, but Ippo don't want to believe him. Unk say Miyata was never good at taking punches, and after that many, there's zero chance he gets back up. But Ippo still doesn't want to believe him. He guarantees that Miyata's gonna be able to get up. Miyata's on the ground telling himself he gotta do it. He thinks about Ippo in the past and how he would never stay down, so he need to get up just like Ippo would. He knows he can't afford to lose right before he makes it to the finals. He reaches over, grabs his mouth guard and puts it back in. He slowly starts to pick himself back up, and finally, when the ref gets to 8, he uses up all of his energy to get back standing on 2. Everybody's hyped that the fight's gonna continue, and Ippo looks over and is like, shit, what'd I say? But like, you gotta do more than just stand up. You can get up all you want, but if you can't fight, it don't mean a thing. As Miyata squares up, Mashiba laughs at him, saying he should have just stayed down. Fuji up in the stands is asking Unk how the damage on Miyata's looking, and Unk said that he's conscious, so that's good, but he's gotta be hurting so bad from the barrage of punches that Mashiba sent his way. In the condition he's in now, he's not gonna be able to throw any good punches. And to make things even worse, Mashiba's gotten more time to recuperate from the last round while Miyata's at his weakest. Things are looking terrible for Miyata right now, but my man's Ippo still got hope. He says that as long as Miyata has his counter punch, there's always the ability to turn the game around. As the round starts back up, Mashiba, of course, rushes him down with the intent to send Miyata home right here, right now. Pops is telling Miyata don't force the fight. He still has time, so keep a good distance and use that time to get your energy back. Miyata knows that's probably the best option for him to go with right now, but when he plants his foot to step back, he realizes that he can't. Mashiba starts sending punches his way and he's forced to stay close and dodge. Miraculously, even without his footwork, he's dodging each and every punch from Mashiba, but Unk knows this is a dangerous game. He's got to withstand this heat and pressure for the rest of the round because he can tell that Miyata's only dodging without his footwork because he couldn't even if he wanted to. Mashiba's getting real hasty, throwing these roundhouses going for the knockout, but amidst the heat, Miyata's staying calm and precise. But without being able to use his footwork, slowly, Miyata starts getting caught by these punches. Unk says he's at his limit. Mashiba's still throwing punches, but he's getting mad, eventually throwing a reckless attempt at a finishing punch when Miyata sees the opportunity. So he takes the chance, thugging through the pain, and throws the counter punch, catching Mashiba just before he lands his finisher. But it wasn't enough. Mashiba was able to bounce right back up. Since Miyata's taking so much damage, his punching power isn't able to match what he's normally at, which led the counter to be way less effective. But even though it didn't do too much physically, Ippo says that it could very well have done a lot of mental damage. The whole time, Mashiba had firmly believed that since Miyata was hurt, he had the dub in the bag. But the moment that he thought was gonna win it all, he took a mean counter to the face when he least expected it. Him seeing that Miyata still got some fight left in him makes him need to be even more cautious the next time he jumps in. At this point, the two of them are just staring each other down. Mashiba's mad at himself for pulling back, like, why is you being scary, bro? All you gotta do is deliver the final blow and you know you gonna win. So he rushes Miyata once again, but he's stopped by the bell and the ref intervenes. Honestly, shout out the ref, cause Mashiba is most definitely the type to get some sneaky licks in after the bell and just play dirty overall. As Miyata walks back to the corner, Mashiba's staring him down. His trainer's telling him to play patiently and wait for his chance, but Mashiba thinks that if he calms down and plays patient, he's gonna end up losing. He's mad at himself cause he missed his chance to bring Miyata down in the last round, but then he realizes that counter punch was probably Miyata's best shot and it didn't even hurt that bad. He bounced right back up. Suddenly, he's got a change in mindset. Over in Miyata's corner, the manager's like, it's unfortunate you got your foot stepped on, but shit, we could ice it up, you'll bounce right back, you ain't never gonna get hit by that again. Being all optimistic and shit, but Miyata's just sitting in the corner looking down. His dad walks up to check his foot out, but Miyata stops him. He's like, don't give it any attention, he'll notice. Miyata already knows that his foot is injured badly, and honestly, there's not much that he could do about it right now. Best case scenario is to thug through the pain the best he can while hiding that fact from Mashiba so he doesn't become even more aggressive than he already is. Pops is like, so it's true. You are injured. An outboxer with an injured foot is like a bird with a broken wing. At this point, it's way too risky for you to fight in this condition that you're in. We gonna have to withdraw from the match. As soon as he says that, Miyata looks up at him crazy, but the manager on the sideline doubles down. He's like, yeah, Miyata, it's not worth it. Fighting more like this could heavily affect your future. We're not even on the biggest stage you could be on yet. Pops put his hand on Miyata's shoulder, like that's just how it goes sometimes, son, and starts walking over to tell the referee that they're gonna withdraw. As Miyata just looks down in shame, we hear the bell ring that signals the third round is about to begin, but what they don't know is that this fight is already done. Miyata grabs Pops by the shoulder. He's like, what is you doing? You not about to go in. You know this is way too risky for your future. You can't fight like this. But Miyata's only got 4 words. He's waiting for me. As Miyata walks towards the center of the ring, we see that he's not playing around no more. And even Fuji and Unk can tell he's more serious than ever. Ippo's happy that he might have a chance for his footwork to return, but everybody on Miyata's team is realizing that the stakes are higher than ever. He not only has a chance to lose this fight and end up having to lead the tournament, but worst case scenario, this could end his entire career. Mashiba starts out throwing hella punches, but Miyata's dodges are just as sharp. The manager's asking Pops why would he let Miyata go out there? He's got national level potential, it don't make no sense. But Pops tells him that Miyata knows that better than anyone, but he still made that decision to step back into the ring. Regardless what we think, we just over here in the corner. It's not our place to override that decision. All we can do is watch. Miyata's out there dodging for his life when Unk tells Ippo that Miyata's foot is seriously injured. He says that the corner people must have tried to stop him, but they couldn't. Miyata insisted to go out, then Ippo realizes it's because of the promise that he made. Mashiba's out there sending punch after punch, but nothing's connected yet. Ippo's like, shit, as long as Mashiba doesn't realize that he's fighting against an injured foot, he can still end up using his counter punch if he plays it right. But with perfect timing, Mashiba hits Miyata with a body blow, sending him backwards, realizing that Miyata does have an injured foot and it's not just a light little sprain. He also realizes that it's not just any foot, it's his pivot foot, which means both his counter punch and his footwork are pretty much useless to him right now. He can't do either one. In response to realizing that, he goes right back into Hitman stance and starts bombarding Miyata with these flicker jabs. Fortunately, Miyata's amazing defensive instincts are allowing him to duck and weave through each punch, but Mashiba's not gonna stop trying. He hits him with another body blow, and Unk points out that Miyata has to brace his feet in order to guard for a body blow, and Mashiba knows that, so he's doing it on purpose to take advantage of his injury. Ippo's getting mad that he's doing it on purpose, but Unk's like, you can't be mad at it. That's the #1 rule of fighting. You gotta attack your opponent's weaknesses. And Ippo's just sitting there, stunned. As Miyata's just out there dodging punches, Unk's surprised at how he's been holding up, cause from what Unk could tell, it looks like a real bad injury. It looks painful to even just be there standing. Mashiba's been punching this entire time and finally decides to go for another body blow, following with a clean one to Miyata's cheek, then back to another body blow, which was the best connecting punch out of everything so far. At this point, Miyata isn't able to do anything to react. It's like Mashiba's out there against a sandbag. In Miyata's head, he's waiting for an opportunity to use his last counter punch, and is trying his best to conserve the rest of his energy until the opportunity arises. We notice that he's leaning against the rope, lifting up his foot to reduce the pain. But as a drawback, this is letting Mashiba land even more punches. People in the crowd are yelling at the ref to stop the fight because even they could tell Miyata can't go on. But in Mashiba's head, he's thinking there's no way he's going to let the ref stop the fight. He's not going to be satisfied until he knocks Miyata out with his own 2 hands. As he gets excited thinking about it, he goes for his finishing blow, but Miyata moves in quick with the counterpunch he was waiting for. Mashiba had finally let his guard down, but Miyata's foot stops him from following up. He's just taking too much damage. The counter punch really surprised Mashiba though. He didn't think he had it in order to throw another solid ass punch. He thought he had ran out of gas. But quickly, Mashiba tells himself to stop going down that path of thinking. He says that's 100% the last punch. So he rushes in to try and finish the fight before it's too late. He's got Miyata up against the ropes and Miyata's in his head thinking, so what if I'm hurt? He's gotta be hurting too. This the most critical point of the fight. I gotta just throw more punches. But Mashiba's landing all types of punches at this point, just comboing them up left and right. He finally musters up all his strength for another attempt at a finishing blow, but suddenly, he sees the determination in Miyata's eyes. Slowly, his arms fall weak. He's still punching, but with no power and while slowly retreating. Miyata's just looking at him like a living man inside of a dead body as he just throws these punches towards him. Mashiba's looking at him with nothing but fear in his heart. Like, bro, who the f is this dude? As Miyata just continues to stare him down. He had thought this whole time that Miyata was just a spoiled brat who only got where he was because his dad had connections, but he never expected something like this. Miyata's just staring on, with only one thing in his mind, winning. Aunt could feel the pain that he's going through, but it's like this is exactly what you gotta do. You gotta be threatening, you gotta put fear in his heart. You could still win this. The intimidation from Miyata doesn't stop, to the point that Mashiba just screams and throws a 1-2 while Miyata's maintaining full eye contact. When Mashiba goes for the final punch, Miyata notices it. The opening for the counter punch. Aunt sees that the timing is perfect. The punches are flying towards each other. Ippo knows it's about to connect, Aunt knows it's about to connect, Miyata's about to come back and clinch the win, but then he snaps out of it. Mashiba stares down at Miyata, not even realizing what just happened. The ref checks on him, but he's out cold. The winner, advancing to the final round of the rookie tournament, is Mashiba. As Miyata is taken out on a stretcher, Mashiba's just looking at him with weary eyes. Ippo ends up going to Miyata's locker room after the fight and asks his Pops if Miyata's okay. Pop says that Miyata had a message for him. "I'm sorry, I couldn't keep my promise." Ippo's remembering parts of the journey that they had been on together, as he was his rival, his #1 inspiration for him to get where he's at now. But finally, he remembers him. We've never seen Ippo mad like this. Now, he's out for revenge. Just wanted to give a quick shout out to the Patreon. Y'all see videos early and videos that can't make it up to YouTube. Shout out to all the members, especially the gold members. Javion O, Tyler Ashley, y'all some goats. I'ma see y'all next time, and we out.